Hi folks, this is Tim aka TurboBB. With today's video I will be reviewing XENO's latest flashlight, the S3A. They have dubbed this as potentially being the smallest 18650 size flashlight in the world with a reverse click key. So with that said, we're going to dive right into the packaging. It comes in this cardboard outer shell that has a sticker featuring all the specifications of the light. An inner box that has a magnetic flap here, and also again with the specifications printed out. So this particular model that I've received is a cool white version featuring a Cree XML LED in U2 output bend and then in 1B temperature bend. So 1B is just a little bit cooler than the 1C that I've normally reviewed. So color temperature wise, they say is roughly about in the 7K plus range. Right, so opening the box, you got the specifications, instruction manual, potentially I guess the warranty with a QC quality stamp. Place that on the side here, and with that we'll get to the light itself and see what else is included here. A little package that has a spare O-ring, a spare tail cap switch, and a little wrist strap. Okay, so we'll put that on the side here. So, wow, I gotta say, this is a very compact light. As you likely see, I have a few lights lined there for comparison purposes. So with that said, I'm going to dive into a true 18650 size light. This is a XENO G10V2, and as far as 18650 size lights go, it's actually slightly on the compact side. It's actually not even that large overall, but as you can see, there's a decent sized difference between these two lights. Okay, and then we have actually a slightly more compact light. This is a Sunwayman T20C, also a 18650 size light. Overall, the tube is perhaps roughly the same, a little larger overall. And obviously the head is a lot larger. So now here, get into the interesting bits. This is a Surefire L4. It runs on actually two CR123As. It could potentially be bored out, the tube that is, to fit a 17670 size battery, but I think 18650 size would be beyond the capability of this light. So the XENO S3A is also capable of running on two CR123As, and as you can see, still a bit more compact overall, right? And with that said, we're now actually going to get into a AA size lights. This is a Sunwayman B11R. Typically it is a single CR123A size light. However, I do have the AP05 extender installed so that it could accept AA's, and in this configuration, as you can see, the S3A is actually not too much bigger than the V11R overall. Okay, and finally, we have a true AA form factor light. This is a Phoenix LD10, and again, as you can see, overall, not too much bigger than a AA size light. I actually place this flat on the desk so you can see it for size comparison purposes. Okay, so with the size comparisons out of the way, we get to the weight. So I got my little scale here. So I'm just going to turn this on. I'm going to measure the weight of this in ounce first. So what is that? Like about 1.8 ounce. And just over 51 grams. Okay, 51 grams. So that's actually 1 gram over what XENO has put on their official specs, but it would be hardly noticed. Alright, so what does that mean? Like, let's just say you're not familiar with the term 18650, right? So this is a standard 18650 size lithium ion battery, and again, just going to plop it over here for size comparison purposes. As you can see, not too much larger overall than that battery, but okay, fine. What if you're not familiar with what that battery is? Here we have a standard AA size battery, alkaline. Right? So diving into the features and design of the light, right? Right off the bat, you probably see there's a double-sided AR coated lens here. The reflector is actually an orange peel, so it should cast a fairly smooth beam without any potential artifacts or hard transition from the hotspot into the spill. There is a stainless steel bezel that is removable with a TW15 wand, which I will be covering in depth in my actual review. So the light is actually bereft of any major etchings beyond the symbol here. As I had mentioned in my XENO G10V2 review, this is actually a pictogram for a tiger, a Chinese symbol. Alright, then there's a serial number here, and that's pretty much it beyond obviously what's etched on the clip itself. Now the clip itself is actually interesting. Typically you have that two-prong style, like on the Sunwayman V11R, where you actually clip on. But this particular one actually has a little dovetail module here that you actually clip on, and I guess it provides for a fairly solid connection. I haven't really tested taking off yet, so which I'll try later on. But for now, design elements, as you can imagine on a compact light of this size, fairly minimal. There's but a groove here. There's these 5 flutings around the entire tube, barbell shaped flutings. Yet another small groove here, then finally plain area here, and then the switch guard, a crenellated switch guard that actually have these little 5 dimples here. Not sure if the autofocus will catch up, but and then these 2 holes, which I presume was for the wrist strap attachment, or I guess potentially for a custom aftermarket clip. Right now, I guess the only thing about this clip is that you would force one to carry it bezel up. I know that some people do not prefer that. They would actually prefer to carry their lights bezel down. And unfortunately, there isn't a corresponding groove on this end such that one could actually take this clip, flip it around, install it this way so that you could actually carry it bezel down. So that's actually feedback that I would be providing to XENO. Alright, so there's a rubber boot here that covers a reverse clicky. Now, what does a reverse clicky mean? It simply means that when you press the switch half press, kind of like you're pressing the focus button on the shutter on a camera, it actually doesn't turn on the light at all. It isn't until you actually release the click that the light will engage. Right, so to demonstrate that, let me just actually remove the switch guard. Okay, so as you can see, there's a very nice square cut threads. Again, I'm not sure if the autofocus will actually capture on. Okay, I guess it's not cooperating today. Wait, hold on, that's my fault. I did not set it to macro mode. Here we go. Alright, so let me give the autofocus a second to catch up. I guess it's not. Sorry guys. So, with that said, there is a 24 karat gold plated springs on both ends. I'm not really sure if you can peer down the tube, but there's one on that end as well. Okay, and overall, the thickness of the wall of this light, as you can imagine, is fairly thin. Now, I did measure the diameter of the light to be, I think it was 21.1 millimeter, but let me just measure that on video. Okay, so 21.2, I guess. It could also be the way that I'm angling it, but right. Let me see if I can actually get this in there to measure the thickness here. Alright, so that comes out at roughly 1.3 millimeters. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and slide a battery in here. It's got a very nice smooth feel to it. So the XENO S3A does feature 3 levels of output, and also a secondary mode, which there are 3 hidden modes, I believe: a strobe, a beacon, and a SOS signal. So with that said, when you turn on the light, it will always default to high mode. Again, I'm going to place something here for the autofocus to focus on. Okay, so as you see, when I clicked it, it wasn't until I released it that the light actually turned on. Now the claim output is 300 lumens, and preliminary measurement on my PVC LMD confirms that it's actually a bit higher, but I'm still finishing the runtime testing, so I will post those results later. To change modes, turn it on and off. That goes down to medium, or you could half press to cycle through the modes. Low. Alright, at any point to access the hidden secondary modes, one needs to depress the switch quickly 3 times. It doesn't have to be full clicks, it could just be 3 quick half presses. Okay, it's not cooperating. There we go. Wasn't pressing fast enough. Alright, so that is the strobe mode. Alright, and likewise with the output levels, you cycle through them by pressing a half click. That is the beacon locator mode. And then another half click, and that's the SOS signal. Now, one thing that I found that potentially could have been implemented better is the fact that once you get into the secondary mode, you cannot fast press 3 clicks again to get back into the output levels. You actually need to shut the light off and actually let it wait 3 seconds. And then upon turning it back on, it'll default back to high again. So that's another feedback I will be providing to XENO. Okay, so with that said, again, it's a very, very compact light. Overall fit and finish feels very solid. I think the only thing that I would nitpick about so far is that this laser etching here is actually not as sharp as its big brother, the XENO G10V2. I don't know if you could actually see that on the camera, but on the G10V2 it's extremely crisp and clear with actually no blotchiness whatsoever. On the S3A, at least the particular sample I received, just, you know, minor blotchiness here, but nothing terrible. Alright. Overall, I say it feels fairly solid, but again, I just got in this light, so I haven't carried around much. I do have a camping trip upcoming that I will be putting this through fairly substantial testing, so I will report back then on how this light holds up, as well as a mini review in actual use during camping. Alright, so hopefully you found that information helpful, and thanks again for watching. And as a new part of my videos, for full disclosure, this light was provided by edcplus.com for review. Cheers.